you confirm? Thank you. So I'll give it 2 minutes for everybody to come in. Mm. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Peter, please, can we have the national anthem? Can we all rise? If it's safe for you and you're not driving, and let us take the national anthem. First stanza only. Good afternoon, everyone. The
Good
President and
afternoon.
Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gabriel, FCIPM FNLI, the Vice President, Mrs. Chidima Obie Jesse, FCIPM, the National Treasurer, Mrs. Ogochukwu Egbuonu, FCIPM, the immediate past President, Mr. Olusegun Mojid, FCIPM FNLI, elected council members present on this call, and I think I can see Dr. Mr. Adeyemi Ajayi, FCIPM, distinguished fellows of the Institute, governing council members present on this call, our panelist for today, Ms. Angel Fadaunsi, MCIPM Director, Human Capital Department, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Dr. Emmanuel Bassi Usman, FCIPM, CEO, Billard Realty Nigeria Limited, Mrs. Orieji Uduma, MCIPM, Earth Learning and Development, Indorama Elima Petrochemicals and Fertilizer Nigeria. Our moderator for today's session, Adesoji Ogunsonya, MCIPM, Earth Learning and Development, KPMG Professional Services, HQ staff, my own team members, members of the Institute present on this call, non-members present on this call. Good afternoon once again, and welcome to the CIPM and You webinar series, the November edition, holding today, Wednesday, 26th November, 2025. And the theme for today is learning reflections, results, and sustainability for the future of work. And again, I say that, and I'm sure you all remember we just finished conference a few weeks ago. Learning reflections, results, and sustainability for the future of work. Welcome once again to this session, and I'm sure you're going to have an engaging, interactive session with a lineup of speakers that we have got for you today. So as we proceed with this, I would ask that you all please rise, members of the Institute, if you're not driving and it's safe for you to do so, and join me as we take the Institute's Code of Conduct. When you get to I, you insert your name and your membership grade. If you're not a member of the Institute, you should not be joining us in taking this code of conduct. However, if you do, I'm ready to induct you on the 1st of December, 2025. Thank you very much. And you recite after me. So can I have a sound board for me there at HQ, please? Can somebody unmute themselves so that I know I'm being followed? Is that okay?
We can hear you clearly.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Our code of conduct. The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria.
The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria.
As the apex regulatory body for human resource management practice in Nigeria.
As the apex regulatory body for human resource management practice in Nigeria.
Is committed to the highest possible standards.
Is committed to the highest possible standards
of professional conduct. And competency among its members. Therefore, as a member of the Institute,
as a member of the Institute,
CIPM, pledge that I shall at all times carry out my duties and responsibilities with integrity and diligence. Demonstrate competence and ethical behavior. In all my business. Professional. And personal activities. Respect the laws of the land. Promote. Encourage. And in place acceptable processes. And procedures in the practice of human resource management. Within my sphere of influence. Endeavor to make personal decisions. After considering all options. Of which resignation may be one. In defense of this code of conduct. Where there are conflicts. Between my professional obligations. And the expectations of my job roles. So help me God. Amen. Thank you very much. You may be seated. My name is Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, Registrar Chief Executive, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. At this point, I would like to call on the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobrel, FCIPM FNLI, ably represented by Mr. Adeyemi Ajayi, FCIPM, our elected council member, to give the opening remarks. Thank you, Mr. Ajayi. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Registrar, the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobir, the Vice President of our Institute, and the Vice Chairman of the Governing Council, Mrs. Chidima Justina Obiejese. FCIPM, the National Treasurer, Mrs. Ogochukwu Egbonu, FCIPM, the Registrar CE, Miss Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, the immediate past president of our institute, Mr. Olusegun Taufik Mujid, FCIPM, elected council members on this call. I can see Mrs. Farouk Sadat Farouk, MCIPM, Mr. Sean Olabodi Badiru, MCIPM, Dr. Mike Ogu, MCIPM, and Mr. Comrade Osaran Omoli, MCIPM. Distinguished fellows of the Institute, governing council members, all members of the Institute, HQ staff, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Our panelists, I welcome every one of you. Dr. Emmanuel Bassi, FCIPM, Angel Fadansi, MCIPM, Orieji Uduma, MCIPM, and Adesoji Ogunsoya, MCIPM. On behalf of the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Nadan Gubir, FCIPM, FNNI, I want to welcome every one of us on this call to this edition of the CIPM and You series. We have about 403 members on the call at this time. The distinguished HR professionals, members of the Institute, and non-members joining us on this call. Our theme for this edition, learning, reflections, results, and sustainability for the future of work, is very apt, even as we are just coming out of our annual national conference, where we reimagine the future of work and HR practices. It is important for us to understand how our learning can translate to results and how we can ensure sustainability even as we proceed in the evolving workplaces and our workspaces. We all know that work has changed and the definition of work has indeed changed. And the same way that our workplaces has also changed significantly. So today, I want to encourage every one of us even to come along, even as we listen to our erudite panelists, even as they delve into today's topic. Let us learn, let us unlearn, and let us relearn, even as we continue our journey of professional development. On behalf of leadership of the Institute, I welcome everybody, and I hereby hand over back to the registrar, even as we go into the conversation this evening. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adeyemi Ajayi, elected FCIPM, elected council member. At this point, I would now like to hand over to our moderator for today, Dr. Adesoji Ogunsoya, MCIPM, Ed Learning and Development, KPMG Professional Services, to take over from here. Thank you very much, Dr. Ogunsoya. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the registrar. Thank you so much, FCIPM, Adeyemi Ajayi. Thank you so much for the introduction. And without taking much of our time, I mean, this is a very exciting moment and very topical indeed. I mean, what better way can we talk about learning impact, if not to look at the reflection, the result, and how to sustain our learning impact in the ever-changing environment. Our environment keeps changing, and then the fluidity of our work environment demands that we also find a way to ensure that we stay above the curve in the learning circle. So on the panel today, we have three wonderful professionals. I mean, those are veterans, I should call them. And I'm so excited to actually moderate this session. This is John Wiff for 45 minutes, and then possibly we have 15 minutes for question. Hopefully in the next 1 hour, we should be done with this session. Before I go further, I would like to also say that each of the panelists, we have 3 minutes each to answer the question that is being pushed to them. And again, we'll also be given opportunity to ask our question after all the questions have been taken. So if you have any question, I will say that we probably might need to just note it down or put it in the chat box while we run this process, I mean, seamlessly, just for the next 45 minutes. All right, so having said that, I would like to say you are welcome once again and happy Wednesday. So to start this session, I would like to call on the first person to answer the first question. I hope our panelists are ready. If you are ready, I just want to be sure that you could be heard. Can you just confirm to me that it could be heard?
Yes, please,
we
Doctor.
can hear you and we're
Yes,
ready.
we can hear you.
We're ready
All
for
right,
you. Great. Dr. Bassi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Beautiful. Madam Angel, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Beautiful. I believe you could also be heard. And of course, Madam Orie, can you hear me as well?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Beautiful. So we are set for this beautiful intellectual journey. So let me start with Madam Angel. The first question is this: how can professionals reflect on their learning experiences, and what strategies can they use to apply this insight to their work? I can take that again. How can professionals reflect on their learning experiences, and what strategies can they use to apply those insights to their work? Thank you. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Adesoji. I think it's very important as learning professionals or as professionals to remain open to learning at all times. Even during the course or the program that you're attending, I think it's even if for every aspect of that program, ask yourself, can I use this? Does this apply to me? Is it useful in my own office? Could it be useful in another way? Do I have to change something to apply this in my workplace? After the program, same thing. When you get back to work, look at it and say, whatever I picked up in this program, can I apply it in my organization? Can I apply it in particular situations? You have to actually look, there's a lot of reflection involved, think back, look at the reality on the ground and say, what works, what won't work. There are some courses during the course, you will actually say, but this one can't work in my office. And that shows you're already reflecting. And I think that's very important as professionals. Are you thinking right away, can I use this? How can I adjust this to my own situation? What do I need to do? It's also important that when you come back from those sort of learning events, that you set some goals for yourself to bring that learning to life. You can decide to replay that learning event for your colleagues in the office, share with them, because that will keep it fresh in your mind. You might come back to the office and ask people that, I learned this in the office, in the training I went for. Is it realistic? Is it something we can apply here? So we have to actually just deliberately go out of your way to test some of these things we learn in these situations. And I think that's just reflecting and saying what can work, what can't work, what should we try? And I think that's how I would say we can address that question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Angel. Beautiful contribution. Talked about open to learning, talk about relevance of training, and also setting goals. The next question goes to Dr. Emmanuel Bassi. Dr. Emmanuel, can you describe a recent learning experience that challenged your assumption or changed your perspective? How did you adapt? I'll take that again, if you don't mind. Can you describe a recent learning experience that challenged your assumptions and challenged your perspective? How did you adapt?
Well, thank you so much for this. Is fantastic. That's a very thoughtful question. Let me say that it's really about growth and disruptions. Let me share a few recent learning experiences that have widely challenged my assumption and shifted my perspectives along how people or organization can adapt. Let me say, number one, issue of data-driven decision-making versus experience-based judgment. For example, many leaders assume that intuition experience was sufficient for strategic decision-making. However, the rise of predictive analytics and real-time dashboards, AI-driven insight has shown that data often reveal patterns and risks that human judgment alone might miss. How do I adapt? Invest in data literacy for team, combine intuition and evidence base. Number two, what are other things that also challenge my assumption? The issue of remote and hybrid work productivity. Before COVID, we so much believe in classroom learning. We so much believe that you need to be in a place. I remember one of the sessions I participated in the international conference, I talked about, we said work is no more it's no more where we go, but what we do. It means that you can be anywhere and also deliver the same result. The same thing with learning. Learning today, you do not need to go to a particular place. There are different tools and there are different ways to handle it. Remote and hybrid work has brought a whole lot of productivity. Pre-2020, assumption held that employees were most productive only when they're physically present. Recent studies and what we have experienced in the recent years, organization experiment prove the opposite. Productivity often increase with autonomy and flexibility schedules. How do we adopt, build systems for accountability rather than fiscal supervision, build processes, and build a performance objectives clearly spelled out. Use performance indicators tied to output, not presence, strengthening digital collaboration tools, and remote leadership skill. Another one is pace of technology, pace of technological disruption. What has changed? Many assume that digital transformation will be gradual. The rapid rise of AI, automation, the low-code tools demonstrate that industries can shift almost overnight. How to adapt? Cultivate continuous learning as a core organizational value, run quarterly digital skills audits, encourage experimentation with small, low-risk pilot projects. Another one that will interest us again is customer expectations and behavior. We are in a days today that businesses used to believe that customers' primary value, price, or product quality. Today's customer expects speed, transparency, personalization, and convenience, all simultaneously. How do we adapt? Redesign customer journeys end to end. For example, another one is adopt CRM systems that track real-time customer needs. Use feedback hubs to quickly adopt. So recent learning experiences that challenge my assumption is all-encompassing. That has to do with data, that has to do with remote work, that has to do with customer expectation, also even leadership and authority model. Traditional leadership, for example, assume top-down control. Modern teams respond better to collaborative, empathic, and adaptive leadership. Authority now stems from competence, trust, emotional intelligence, and not hierarchy. All these form part that we need to, and that has shifted our thinking. Why? Because technology, data has actually driven our thought processes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Bessie. I mean, very hard learning disruption, talk about predictive analysis, spoke about different insight as a way, as a panacea to adaptability and agility when it comes to learning, and also clear performance objectives. Very key in ensuring that we get our learning processes right. So the third question goes to Madam Borie. So how do you prioritize your organizational learning and development in a rapidly changing environment? You know, how do you prioritize that? Please, 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Soji. I'll tell you something that used to happen, previously in my organization. So the HR people, maybe a training is happening somewhere, and then shortly after that, if I wasn't there, they will send me mail with attendance. And they will jokingly say, hey, you are the ones that are looking for attendance so that, you can calculate your man hours and your man days and all of that. So that was the very traditional HR, the very traditional L&D, where, we were more reactive. So we used to go to, departments, we'll get the training needs identified and all of that and try to bridge the gap. And in that system, that structure was L&D just being siloed, just working on our own and doing what we were doing. But in recent times, is there a problem? Okay. In recent times, there's been a shift in, the rapid environment that we find ourselves in now, with all the statistics we heard during the recently concluded ICE, that every L&D initiative must now directly support a key organizational goal, which means that from inception, and it's a regular update now, that we must find out which skills will enable us, successfully implement our latest strategic pivot in that organization. Are we entering a new market? Is there a new technology we're trying to adopt? And it's interesting that as L&D professionals, we are now the table, which is one of the things we heard again at ICE. We are now the table. So it's not like we are waiting to hear what is happening. We will follow the business. So for L&D professionals, first, before you even begin to prioritize, we need to upskill. We need to become more business oriented. We need to understand the business of our organization. When you do that, whenever, like in my organization, when there's an audit, the practice now is that L&D is always there to hear the outcome of the audit. So strategically, I know which direction my organization is headed. Now, the whole strategy has changed. It's a top-down, strategy now. So I am now meeting business objectives. Then I also go bottom up and I partner with the departments to know, the business performance. Where are we headed? In that way, I prioritize the learning now and try to close the gap between the current state of whatever technology or the new market that we have, whatever the gap is there, and then, function in a way to bridge the gap for the future required state for that most critical role, because it's not all the roles that are critical at this point in time. So you have critical roles, you have critical objectives, maybe for the next 3 years or thereabout, but that's how you prioritize now. So organization objectives is the priority now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, very fantastic contribution in terms of being strategic in our offering as priority, and then also upskilling ourselves and business objective well defined. Of course, collaboration. We can't go wrong with collaboration. So thank you so much. We are going back to Madam Angel. And the next question is, what metrics or indicators do you use to measure the effectiveness of learning initiatives in your organization? Metrics or indicators you use to measure the effectiveness of learning initiatives in your organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adesoji. I think there are a lot of variables and metrics that we can use to see whether the learning events we've run are effective. And it ranges from the very basic sort of metrics, such as how many people did you plan for and how many people actually attended. That's the most basic level. Registration versus attendance. And then you have, so for example, for online courses, you look at how many people started the course and how many finished the course. And then you also look at, for example, if you're taking an online program and it has activities tied to it, you look at things around how much time do people engage with the course, engage with the activities, submit assignments or quizzes, I give, the regular feedback that we give at the end of the program. That's also one of the metrics that we look at. You also have things around, the experience itself. Are we measuring, were you happy? Did you enjoy the program? Was the food good? Very critical point. People tend to miss this out. Was the food good? Was the venue comfortable? Did you have an opportunity to network with colleagues or other professionals in the classroom? And then moving on, from that sort of like very basic type of feedback, we can move to see, did the learning event actually transfer some skills? So you look at pre-test scores, post-test scores, those mini quizzes and assessments during the program. There are some programs where for every module you run a little quiz and see, okay, did they actually pick up anything here? And then you check, maybe you do some scenario-based sessions where people can quickly apply the learning right there and then in class. And then you can see if there has been any improvement. You also look around, so for example, a lot of organizations run skill assessments on an annual basis, and they say, okay, at the end of the year, sometimes as part of your training needs analysis, you run a skills assessment where you see how skilled are our staff based on all the learning we've run this year. So you run that kind of assessment. You also ask, for example, managers to give you feedback. I trained 12 of your staff. Please give me feedback Is there any improvement, anything that we missed out? Those sort of things are very useful metrics. And they also look at, so some programs we run are tied to, can be tied to certifications, accreditations, professional improvements. And so if you have a number of your staff who have gone on a training on, say, for example, project management, and at the end of that period, out of 50, maybe 32 of them are now certified project managers, then those are the sort of metrics you want to be shouting out to management. You also look at things around change and behavior change. And these are some of the harder ones to measure, but they're also very important. And so you do things around, you ask on supervisors about on-the-job improvements that, okay, we trained your staff on how to conduct, for example, more efficient audits. And then you ask them that, okay, now that they're actually conducting audits, are you seeing changes? And you come back and ask for feedback from supervisors, even from their colleagues. Are there any improvements? And that's another metric that is useful. If you, for example, installed a new software or new type of tool in the office, you can measure now the improvements. How often are people complaining or saying, oh, I can't log in or I can't do this? You need to be able to see the change before you do the training and after you did the training. Reduction in errors, mistakes, cost management. These are some of the relevant metrics you can be looking at. Compliance issues. How many compliance errors have come up after this training? If it was a compliance training, for example. What else? We could also look at, again, I think the ones that we always say are a bit harder to measure, especially if you're not in things like sales, is the impact on the business. And that's the most important one to management, actually. That all this money we're spending on training, is there any impact on the business? So you want to see increase in productivity, efficiency gains, like less time spent on a task, cost reduction, increase in sales, increase in revenue. I think those are some of the metrics that I think are really important. And one other one I just don't want to forget about is the link between staff development and retention. Do people in your exit interviews, are people saying things around this organization trained me well? So I'm thinking, even though, sorry, not exit interviews, but in engagement surveys, you want to be measuring, are people talking about the kind of learning that they're getting from the organization? I think I'll stop there because let me just manage my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that wonderful, contribution. You spoke a lot about the pre-course, the post-course. And then again, a sage once said, not all that are measured are measurable, and not all that are measured are measured. So basically, one thing we need to know is using the right metrics, for the right training assessment, and we won't go wrong in doing that. So the next question goes to Dr. Emmanuel Bassi again. So Dr. Emmanuel Bassi, can you share an example of a learning program or initiative that led to significant result or impact? And what made it successful? We would like to hear those experiences you'd like to share. Thank you.
So much once again. There are quite a lot of L&D programs that have significant impact in my organization at the moment, and even other places I've played. There are different types of programs. Of course, we all know there are different types of learning and development program. Can be orientation, onboarding, can be product, can be leadership, can be mentoring, can be upskilling, reskilling, etc. Of recent, one of those catchy and those one that has quite an impactful is the blended learning programs, where we allow employees to learn one freely from, for example, having a kind of a flexible, give employee a flexibility to access content, to also be able to apply. Another very important thing also is having these courses available. What we were able to do at Bila Reality, for example, we came out with, we registered some courses. Gone are the days that everybody wants to just go on training, having certificate. What we do is what the organization, what can be relevant to your job and can help your career grow. We channel that kind of a program and make it a kind of a continuous thing that you follow through. So we know you are starting this, you are number 1 today, you need to move to 2, you need to 3. So progressively, you'll be able to have a kind of a coherent and a very tactical, well-organized training, L&D programs that can be impactful on your job. But let me say this very quickly. We have something, some of course is paid. What we've been able to do is we've been able to feel, okay, 5% of your appraisal will be how much this particular program has impacted on your day job. What has it helped us? What made this program successful? So we look at relevance and choice. Employee had a voice in what to learn, surveying flexible paths. This increases motivation. Another one, accessibility and flexibility. On demand, bite-sized content accessible at any time, whether mobile or desktop. It's easy for business professionals to fit learning into their own schedules that make it very easy for us. Mind you, Bila Realty is a real estate, and we have the quite chunk of our professional and technical people that work on site. So sometimes bringing them site will be suffering. We have to blend it in such a way that it will help them and also have greater flexibility for them to be motivated to continue to learn. Another thing also, cultural integration and reinforcement. Embedding learning into, for example, onboarding, linking learning to real organizational goals or value. For example, DEI, charity, business, all those using campaigns, gamification, internal communication, etc. Other continuous and sustainable learning, we've also been able to come up with, for example, of recent, we launched what we call we launched an internal digital and real estate tech upskill program at Bila Reality, combining online modules, project finance, data analytics, prop tech, sustainability compliance, and mentorship. And that greatly has helped us. Another thing is, for example, you cannot just move to the next level, especially position of leadership in terms of team lead or a manager. We must organize a kind of leadership program that, for example, you're a technical person, it does not matter. We can train you, we can put, after mentoring you with someone that maybe the kind of talent management that we have in place, we also bring you not just a classroom, but there are some certain courses you must pass. There are some certain programs you must do, and then we put you through to ensure, having finished that, it impacts directly either on leadership or in the technical, and that has helped us. Another thing is partner with tech training hubs, local universities, but most importantly, for example, we've registered about 2,000 plus courses on Coursera. We have about 1,000 plus on Udemy, and etc. We have quite a lot, and employees have access to it based on their job role, and that helps them to grow, help them to learn even on the go. So those learning experience, that L&D experiences we have an organization today is greatly very impactful. There are some people very shy, they feel they can't lead, but having passed through it, you see boldness in them. They're becoming very decisive and giving you the result you want. Sometimes you see people that are intern, coppers, taking decisions that you feel, wow, where did you learn that? Why? Because we program them and they follow through all the stages of learning that we have developed for their own build-up and for everyone in the organization that have a direct impact on the organizational performance, etc. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Basi. Thank you. You spoke about blended learning approach. You spoke about learning reinforcement. You spoke about learning on the go using digital space in our learning ecosystem that is gradually changing and always dynamic. That is a very, very insightful one. Thank you so much. Well appreciated. So when I nod my head off, just know that you have exceeded your 3 minutes. I'll just be doing this Agama style so that I don't disrupt your session. So the next question goes to Madam Horie. So how do you balance the need for immediate results with the need for long-term development? That dichotomy exists at times. So how do you strike a balance, between the need for immediate result and the need for long-term development when it comes to learning? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Soji. You are asking about the need for that balance. So when you talk about short-term results, I think you mean quick wins, and then long-term development will be sustained capability in L&D. Now, this is achieved through strategic, integrated frameworks, that views these short-term, quick wins as building blocks for the long term. So I don't want us to see them as, opposing each other. They are both, together. So you cannot talk about the long term without approaching you can't talk about the long term without also doing the short term. So in this rapidly, evolving environment that we are in, what I have said to myself is that HR, why do I keep saying HR? L&D professionals have to, become very comfortable with being uncomfortable because the goalposts keep shifting. But one of the strategies, like I said before, is to align quick wins with the long-term vision. What is it that the organization wants to do? So every short-term learning activity, will directly serve as a step on the path toward the major future goals. So you can't treat it as an isolation, So one of the, methods, again, is what you call the 70-20-10 approach, which means 70% being experiential learning, when you do what do you call them? It's an interesting model where you have job embedded learning. So there's the transfer, you are getting into different departments. So you are getting robust in every department. So it's very good for succession planning. So on that job, at that particular time, you are learning the experiential learning is what I like to call it, so that I don't get into too much technicality. Then the 20% is social learning. There's a lot of knowledge transfer that is happening. There's mentoring, there's a coaching going on, there's what we call it in my office is knowledge management webinars. So a particular department or a business unit has, organized something, and they're able to make advancements in using a robot to gather data about certain technological advancements, and they are able to come and share that information with everybody. And then the 10% is the formal learning. Just like Dr. Emmanuel has said, there's a lot of e-learning going on, blended learning. So short courses are delivered, on the job. So when we face these multiple L&D requests, we use this simple matrix, either the 70-20-10, but the very, very key one, very interesting one that we always use when priority is at stake is that quadrant priority, which is high impact, high urgency, high impact, low urgency, low impact, high urgency, just like that. Very quickly, my people are now saying to me that, hey, process safety is high impact, high urgency for us in the organization. So every other thing I'm doing, I'm trying to make sure that all my focus is going into this. Does it mean that other, priorities are not there? They are not, they are there, but I have partnered with this department and I know that this is where my key focus should be for the period. So that quadrant is a good priority for me. Thank you. I see you shaking your head.
Thank you so much. I know if I leave you, you keep going on and on. So we have to make sure that we have check and balances because of our time. I mean, I love what you said about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I will say that, wow, that is added to my vocabulary. I'll just add that. Of course, the 70-20-10 rules also match. I mean, that is very interesting. And indeed, the micro-learning approach is also very key. So to take us further to the next question, this goes to Madam Angel again. How do you see the future of work evolving? And what skills or competencies do you think will be most valuable? How do you see the future of work evolving? And what skills or competencies do you think will be most valuable? Thank you.
Okay. That's an interesting question. The future of work, the way things change now, the speed at which things are changing, it's actually quite difficult to predict the future. But I think there are some common threads that I think we've identified as HR professionals that I think are common to most sectors. And I think the first one is around automation, digitalization, and the use of artificial intelligence. There's a whole lot of stuff going on out there. Our dear Gen Z colleagues, and in the tech world. The sort of things they're coming up with now is amazing. I have a blog that I try to follow just to even try and keep in touch with what is going on out there. There is a whole lot going on in that field, and it will make a significant difference in how we work in the near, very, very near future. Even as I speak, the sort of changes that are ongoing are significant. We have to understand that there will be a whole lot more around automating processes, some routine processes that we're used to now. They're going to just, within a year or two, they will become, the manual processes will move to digitalized and automated processes. And some of these processes will even not even require human beings, at least for 90% of the stuff. The chatbots are already existing. There are a lot of those chatbots now that answer questions based on the data that they have, stored somewhere. So that's something that we really need to take into consideration. There's going to be a whole lot more of that going on in the future. There's data analysis, hybrid. COVID taught us this one. If anybody had told me that Nigeria Public Service can work offline, I would have said no. But I'm sure, as we all experienced during COVID, it is now normal. Zoom meetings, digital workspaces, all this is happening. And then we're now beginning to talk about flexible work, location flexible work. It's not about where you are, wherever you are, you're working from there. And that's a change that we need to begin to work around as HR professionals. We need to plan for it properly, begin to put structures better, because it's more and more common, and it's going to, you have people asking you, I want to work 2 days in the office. I don't want to work 5 days in the office. So that's something we need to talk about. How do we manage that? How do we secure our workplaces to be efficient in that space? And then data. I mean, the sheer amount of data that is available for us now is very critical, and it's driving different kinds of decisions. There's a lot of integration of different forms of data that we all need to look at. I'm working in the tax field, and this will impact so many people in the coming year. There are going to be so many things, so many bits and pieces of data that we're pulling to extract more revenue for the country. And there needs to be, but before I go into the skills, let me talk about one last thing. Another big issue I'm seeing ahead of us is more compliance requirements. I'm sure everybody in this session now is either you're dealing with ESG or you're about to start dealing with ESG, and those are issues that we need to look at more and more critically. And in terms of skill sets, I would say you have to remain current, and that's a major struggle. And I wish all of us luck. I struggle with it. You have to know what is going on around you. Otherwise, you cannot be an effective learning HR professional. Communication skills, critical thinking, flexibility, digital literacy, the ability to work across diverse teams and to understand the complex compliance regulations that are coming up. Those are I think for me, are the key skills that in the next few years that all of us as HR professionals need to quickly pick up on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for that contribution, digitalization, automation. And the one that even touched me most was the tax thing that you mentioned, because during part of my salary come January, and all of us are already thinking, how are we going to manage? I think we need to have a session on that CIPM. How can we educate ourselves on this area? So thank you. So the next question goes to Dr. Emmanuel Bassi. Now, what strategies can organizations use to support continuous learning and upskilling in a rapidly changing work environment?
What strategies can organizations use to support continuous learning
and
upskilling in a rapid changing work environment? Well, there are quite a lot, but let me say this before I go to the strategy. In anything, if you want to succeed as an organization, if you want something to be sustainable, you must build structure, very strong structure. That means the system that works. There has to be system in place. Number two, there has to be strong processes that outline how the system can work. And the third one is place the right people in ensuring this work. And then the last one, have a clear performance objectives. Now, let me quickly dive into practical and high impact strategies organizations use to drive continuous learning and upskilling, especially in a fast changing environment where we have technology shifts, market disruptions, we have regulatory demands, as Sister Angel has said. The list includes both structural and behavioral. So let me start. Number one, for us to have, a strategy we can put in place for continuous learning and upskilling is build a learning culture anchored on leadership commitment. There have to be a learning culture built on leadership commitment. Leaders model learning, sharing what they've learned, attending training, reading, and commending resources. Leadership sets the tune that learning is not optional, but part of performance. Celebrate learning milestones also, and in meetings and newsletters, allocate time for employees to learn. It's very important. As I told you, now our online learning, we've made it as part of appraisal. You're not just going to be appraised. There must be specific things that have to do with your job role that you need to complete. Culture shifts motivation from compliance to curiosity. So it's important, build a learning culture that anchored on leadership commitment. Number two, it's important also that we embed learning into daily work. Learning in the flow of work. Embed learning into a daily work. Instead of separating learning from work, use macro-learning platform, 3 to 5 minutes modules, provide searchable knowledge base, SOPs and video walkthroughs, introduce workflow embedded nuggets, e.g. prompt in CRM and ERPs, provide job aids, templates, and quick reference guides. Another one is create personalized L&D development plan. Personalized L&D development plan. Each member has a skill base tied to organizational goal. Use skill assessment to identify capability gaps, define measurable learning goals and timelines. Another one is use a skill-based learning frameworks. Shift from job titles to skills required. Build skill taxonomy, maybe technical, digital, leadership, or industry specific. Map skills to roles, map skills to projects, map skills to learning paths. Use skills to guide recruitment, promotion, and training budget. Number 4, strategies to employ for continuous learning is adopt multiple learning channels that are blended. That's blended learning. A strong ecosystem combined, for example, instructor-led trainings and learning, e-learnings, peer learning cycles, workshop, case studies, coaching and mentorship, stimulation, role play, etc. Let it be blended. Let it be multiple. So if one employee cannot flow here, they'll be able to flow in this. And then also make it encouraging for all to feel it as a motivation to learn. Number 6, also encourage mentoring, coaching, and peer-to-peer knowledge sharing. It's one of the key things that will help to sustain continuous learning in an organization. Formal mentoring programs, monthly lunch and learn session, peer learning community of practice, reverse mentoring, young staff to be mentored, all that staff can learn from the Gen Zs how to use some of these skills. You can do both ways. And then maybe the last one, make learning measurable. Track course completion, skill gained, application on the job, impact on productivity, quality. Use some KPIs like learning hours by employees, improvement in project cycle. That can help an organization to continuously learn, to continuously be able to put that culture of learning in the young ones and also help organization to achieve its result. You have nodded your head. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Bass. I could see you try to put a whole lot into just one bucket. And somebody was saying that here in the chat that this should be a modular webinar whereby we take it modularly, just make sure that we take it one after the other, possibly already for weeks. I can't agree less with that. And then you gave a quadrant, in a quadrant to your perspective in approaching this. You talk about structure, system, process, you talk about people, and then of course, performance objective. And also you spoke about gravitation from the job specific learning programs to skill-based learning program. And I think that is very, very insightful. So the next question goes to Madam Ore. We will need to move a bit faster now. How can we ensure that learning initiatives are sustainable and scalable across the organization rather than one-off events? And I'm sure you can relate with this very well. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot. So the first thing I will say, L&D have to move from being firefighters to becoming architects. I'm not an architect, but I know a bit about building. So some part of the building plan, you have to involve other people, you have to collaborate and all of that. So instead of us always, just waiting, what's going to happen? We dash in. We have to collaborate with the architects. When I say that, I mean, you have to find out the how do we want to get this training, passed on, who should do it, and why are we actually doing what we're doing. So yeah, let me talk about this the design part for scalability. So how are we doing this thing? It's a design problem, okay? We cannot afford to create programs that are bespoke. So again, goes back to that saying that L&D should no longer be treated as a cost center. It should be an investment now, because whatever L&D does is in fine-tuning the building itself. So we are not the architects, but we fine-tune what is there. So there's a lot of modular content, just like Dr. has said. There's micro-learning, which we now break down into small self-contained modules, and that makes it, sustainable. And over a period, when we can now access these things on our phone, we can access it on, mobile devices and all of that. That helps a lot with scalability. So we're not the ones generating cost anymore. We are partnering with, the cost, how will I call it? The people who are generating costs, we are just partnering with them. So if I check my budget now and it is not going to include, if I include what the, like I said, the process safety department, if they want me to focus on process safety now, that's a lot of cost, which was not there in the beginning. So I have to partner with them. I will go to them and say, hey, your own cost center, can you include this? So I partner with them, and then instead of creating new, budget altogether, then we decentralize knowledge. What we do in my organization in decentralizing knowledge creation, we go to the subject matter experts. There are people in that department who have, how do I call it, their top salesperson, a compliance officer, the lead engineer, someone who knows very well about that subject. So we partner with the person. So L&D, we cease to be the sole content creators. We remove our hands from content creating. We just go to them. What do you know now that will move us from where we are to where we ought to be in the future? So we use those people in-house. Of course, we incentivize them, and then it allows L&D to handle a lot more. We partner, we have SMEs here and there. So every other department is our SME. We're like business partners now. So then there's that part about fostering continuous learning. Why? There has to be the culture. You've got to change the modus operandi. Just like Doctor said, it is no longer an isolation. So just do it. You now have to have personalized learning paths. So each person, according to the person's skill, that's how they're learning. And don't forget that these skills are changing every day. Today, I am, a computer analyst. Tomorrow morning, they now want me to add data analytics. They want me to add some technology. I now have to be a Linux auditor and all of that. There's a lot more, coming in. So you can't just wait and firefight. You've got to find out what these businesses need, get the subject matter experts, partner with them, and then, create this beautiful building. And that's how we're running the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, you gave us a very nice approach to that, a paradigm shift, that we should not be firefighters, but we should be architects. I mean, that's stick. Okay, so let's go further. And this next question goes to Madam Angel. You know, you spoke about continuous learning. So how can we create a culture of continuous learning in our organization? How can we create that culture of continuous learning that she spoke about in our organization? Thank you.
I think Dr. Bassi has actually hit some of the highlights of this question already, but I want to highlight a specific one. He talked about the leadership commitment to both financial, putting money down for training. You know, it's so easy to cut the learning budget. But if you send a message that learning is very important and that we will not be cutting budget and learning will continue, you have dedicated funds towards learning. I think that's really critical. The other part of the leadership is modeling a learning leader. When the organization hears the MD has gone on a particular training, or MD is paying attention or comes into a class and teaches a class, he or she is modeling that learning is important, learning is valued in the organization, and that it encourages a positive culture around learning. And not one-offs, I'm talking about regularly, and saying and actually wanting to see a plan and a structure around learning. And I think that's really important for leadership. Linking activities to linking basic activities to learning opportunities. I think it's really important for organizations to look at how to do this. And I'll give you an example. In as simple as a meeting, you can have learning moments as part of your organization's culture. Like every meeting, you have to talk about what did we learn today, or what should we be learning today. And so that begins, it becomes so routine in an organization that you know that in every meeting, in every discussion, what did we learn today, or what should we be learning today is a part of the discussion. It's on the agenda at all times. I think those are some of the ways that, two ways that I think we can really make learning continuous in your organization. Recognition is also another thing that I think we don't use enough in our organization. If you have staff who are always obviously trying to develop themselves and learn new skills and share those skills, we should recognize those staff. And I think that's a very solid approach or attitude that an organization should recognize and reward. Now, I'm not talking about those who are just certificate gatherers, because we have that culture in Nigeria. I'm talking about people who actually want to learn things, who are, when there's a difficult task at hand, they're willing to step up and learn and share with others. That builds the right kind of setup in an organization. And I think that's a skill that we really need to encourage within our organization. So I'll stop there so that we manage our time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Angel. I mean, thank you for giving us that contribution in terms of leadership buy-in, and also you talked about recognition, and you spoke extensively on how we can run a model that promotes continuous learning in our organization by also coming from the needs perspective, understanding the focus of that particular training, rather than just making positioning for the learning activities to take place. So I will go further and ask Mr. Dr. Emmanuel Bassi this question. What role do you think leaders and managers play in supporting learning and development? What roles do you think leaders and managers play in supporting learning and development? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Leaders and managers play a pivotal role in shaping, enabling, and sustaining learning and development within an organization. They are not just facilitators of learning, but also role models, coaches, and culture builders who influence how employees perceive and engage in a continuous learning. So there are a lot of key roles that leaders and managers in L&D can play. Number one, creating a learning culture, as I said earlier. It is the responsibility of the leaders to create that culture. Leaders set the tune by valuing curiosity, experimentation, and growth. Their commitment signals employees that learning is not just optional, but integral part of success. Just as Madam Angel said, that when leaders show up in a training, or they show up in a particular classroom, or they see themselves getting involved, there will be quite commitment, and then everyone will take it seriously. Number two, acting as coaches and mentors. Quite a lot of us expect a lot from young employees, but we hardly mentor them. We hardly coach them. Managers can guide employees through personalized development plans, offering feedbacks and encouragement, acting as teachers and coaches to help employees build problem-solving skills, motivation, and confidence. So mentorship programs led by managers foster knowledge, faster and career growth, which is key. Number three, aligning learning with business goals. Aligning learning with business goals, very important. Leaders ensure that training initiatives are strategically aligned with organizational priorities. They identify skill gaps, connect learning opportunities to future business needs. That can help greatly. Another one is removing barriers to learning. For example, gone are the days that you'll be offering internet here and there from your office. That's error. The internet should be something that is available 24/7. Managers play a critical role in providing time, resources, and then also psychological safety for employees to learn. They help overcome common barriers such as resistance to change, lack of confidence, or even work overload. Another one that can also managers and they can help is recognizing and rewarding learning. Incentivize learning. Leaders reinforce learning by celebrating achievement, certification, new skill, innovative application, etc. Recognition motivates employees to continue investing in their development. Leaders and managers also can help in what we call modeling continuous learning. When leaders themselves engage, as we said earlier, in training, reading, or skill building, case studies, demonstrate authenticity, and I can tell you it will help greatly. You understand, it's very important that leaders and managers, because I can say this, without leadership support, L&D often become transactional, a box ticking exercise. With active involvement, it transforms into a strategic driver of innovation, adaptability, and retention. So study highlights that there's a study that highlights the organization where managers actively support learning, they see higher engagement and performance outcomes. So practically, leaders should be involved, and that's how they should involve. Dedicate regular time for team learning session, integrate learning goals into performance review, encourage cross-functional projects to apply new learning. In short, leaders and managers are the architects of organizational learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I mean, leaders and managers are architects. We talk about coaching and mentoring, spoke about business goal alignment, and we talk about good support system and also reward and recognition as a way of approaching the carrot perspective to learning. So let's also move further. I would like to ask Madam Ore this question. How can we measure the return on investment and return on expectation of learning initiatives? And what metrics should we use? So we're talking about return on investment and also return on expectation here. And what are the metrics we can use to do this?
Okay. Of course, very clearly, return on expectation is built on the Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluation. Evaluating whether a learning initiative was successful, whether it met the strategic objectives set by the stakeholder. So it answers the question: did the training that was delivered, was it specific, to the non-monetary change? Because ROE is always non-monetary. That non-monetary change we asked for, did it deliver? So when you are measuring the ROE, you are essentially asking for feedback on relevance. And what you're asking for is percentage of learners, who rate the content as highly relevant to their job or that particular role. Then the second one, will be, learning knowledge and skills gained. the pre and post assessment scores. Before you start the training, you do the pre-assessment, and then after that, you do the post-assessment. So that's another method. That's the level 2. Then you talk about the application. This behavior, can I transfer it? There's one of these memes I saw online. So this guy took his dog to the trainer, and then after, of course, he promised the client, I'm going to train your dog and show the dog how to eat. Whenever he sees food, it will start salivating. So he says, okay, I pay you. So he left and he came back and took the dog. Has he learned? He said, yes, carried the dog. And he went home and put the food in front of the dog. And the dog didn't, do what it was supposed to. So he went back. I thought you said the dog was going to, eat the food. He said, I promised to teach, but I didn't promise that that the dog will learn. So adaptation, application of knowledge is very important. That's the level 3 of Kirkpatrick's. Then the second one, of course, that is also time to proficiency. That's that level 3 as well. Then the fourth one, which is also the business impact, operational results, still non-financial at this stage. So you're trying to assess post-training change in customer scores, compliance rate, reduction in regulatory violations or safety incidents, how many hours have we gone without any safety mishaps here and there. So return on investment, the action before the program is always asking if the training is successful, what 3 specific measurable changes are there and all of that. But the third part, which is Philip's, what's Kylie's name now? Philip's methodology, that's ROI. That's the one that measures the financial, evaluation. The financial metric there, how much we invested in this training. Are we getting it back at the end of the year? So we are selling a bag of Gari for 20 Naira because it takes this long process to make Gari. Now we go and learn some trades. So we do backward integration. Are we still taking 3 weeks to make 1 bag of Gari? That kind of thing. So when the time is reduced, you are also, time to market is shorter. You understand? And all of that is the return on investment. So how much, what is the key component for this calculation? So it is total program costs. Let me use that as the denominator, versus how much we have put in. Let me just leave it at that because there are several other indices when we come to matrix. So I'll leave it at that. But what is very important right now for every business is, what is my return on investment? So every day I can come back and say, hey, financial stewardship, everything went well, strategic alignment, what you taught me is what the objectives were met. The food was good, as Madam Angela said. The environment was, everything was really good. But after you have done all of that, are you able to bolt 4 knots before the day is over, or are we still struggling with it? So those are the matrices we have to imbibe now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Assessment of learning, transferable behavior, business impact. Very, very insightful. I'm going to take one more round of questions for each of the panelists, and then before we go to questions because of our time. And this particular one goes to Madam Angel again. So this is the last question for Madam Angel. What are some of best practices for designing learning programs that drive real results and impact? Do you get that?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Good.
Thank you. I think I will try to break it down in a very simple way. We just need to look at the why. Why are we having, what's the reasoning behind this program we want to design? And I think one of the golden rules is start with the business goal or business need and not the training topic. And I think many of us HR practitioners and learning and development practitioners tend to fall into this trap. You look at the catalog from the provider and look at the topic and plan the training, plan for your staff to attend that training. But that's not good enough. I think Oria had said that we are the architects. We should be building and planning ahead. So we need to understand a lot of, we need to have a lot more information. And it's very, very important for us to understand what exactly do we want to achieve with this goal. We've all attended trainings where they start off a training without even talking about the learning objectives. And, that just tells you the direction. If you don't even know what you're coming in to learn, at the end of the day, do you even know if you learned anything? So I think it's very important to understand the why of the program, starting with your business need or business goal, and not the training topic. And then we move on to the people, who's involved in this training. We must involve all the stakeholders in the training. So if you want to design a solid learning event, you must involve the stakeholders. So we need to understand our audience. Who is the audience? Is it fresh staff, experienced staff? Is it the drivers in your office? Is it the driver managers? Is it the super? What exactly? Who exactly is attending this course? What's the level of this person? Understand the audience. Going beyond the audience, who is asking these people to be trained? So you have a supervisor who has complained that I'm getting a lot of feedback that there are a lot of bad products for those who are on the manufacturing line, for example. Then you know that that feedback is an input into the training, and that you must work with the supervisor to understand in designing that program. You must work with that that feedback and input. You also look around activities, people within the organization other people who may have a reason to be involved in giving you feedback. Please work with all of them. It's not just the audience and HR. You have to go a bit beyond that and understand what kind of people are attending this program, what are their levels, who needs this training to happen and why, and then you begin to build around that. So involve your stakeholders. It could be subject matter experts, it could be customers, it could be the audience, it could be managers. Please involve them when you're building the program from the very beginning. The other thing I think is important is to look at the how. How are we going to deliver this program? Is this, we have this term we call an implant, right? Is this an implant program, or are we all going outside to different provider? And we have to understand what we're trying to achieve. And that's why it's very important to understand and involve your stakeholders and understand the goal. If you're doing an implant, which means just your staff in there, so you have to understand that you're going to be recirculating what you know in our organization, right? And so you have to understand that and build upon it. If you're stepping out, your staff are going out to a class where they may be integrated with people from all sorts of organizations, which is great. And they're going to learn things and interact and network. But you have to understand, as you're building the course, you need to understand, what do I want to achieve? And how am I going to manage this course? What do I want to get out of it? And that helps you build better courses. You need to understand that when you're building courses, especially if you're in an organization that has a learning culture, you need to build your programs in a continuous fashion. And let me give an example. So if you have your particular course that starts at the basic level, moves to intermediate, and then has an advanced, and they're all interconnected. They could be prerequisites, but they all draw and they keep reinforcing the learning. And so that builds into the continuous learning culture that your organization would have. And so you link, all your training should have linkages to each other so that it's a reinforced training. You talk about audits here, you talk about budgets here, and everybody knows that they're all integrated and linked. And so that's the best way to design learning events in your organization. Try to keep them connected. I also think about, we say one of the best ways to have your adults learning, and because we're talking about organizations here, is to get them doing things. In my organization many years ago, about 2010, when I joined, I hear people say they're going to present a paper. And I always used to wonder, this is a very academic sounding exercise, presenting a paper. And we try to shift away from that mindset. We're not presenting paper here, we're not academics. Let's get this work done. And so you need to move to things like simulations, role plays, peer learning, discussion groups. Those are more effective than people just standing up with a PowerPoint slide. We need to kill the PowerPoint slide. I think we need to be very careful as learning professionals. Let's move on from the PowerPoint slide. Another how is when you're thinking about how am I going to deliver this course, is what tools and technology do I need to deliver this program? Are you doing so? If you're doing online, you need to understand, okay, what tools will the learner need? He needs his laptop. He needs access to the learning platform. If you're in manufacturing, is there a particular machine they need to actually have? Maybe you need to have one in the training school that they actually practice on and do all the damage there before they go to the factory. So those are you need to plan those tools and materials that are required for the program. Also, in my what now would be, again, still linked to what we've talked about earlier, is what will be in this, what exactly is going to be in this course? What is the content we're putting in it? What data is going to be in this course? What measurements are we putting in place for this course? What you don't measure, you're not going to get any value out of it. We must design our measurements from scratch and understand what do we want to measure and make it as specific as possible, so that at the end of the program, when you're running your measurements and determining if this program, your metrics, is it adding value, you must determine your metrics from the beginning of the program. I think the when, the where, again, those are logistical issues, but they're important. I will tell you that if you pick the wrong venue, you will hear about it from your participants. A venue should be conducive. Unfortunately, a lot of the learning that happens in Nigeria happens in hotels, which is not necessarily ideal. For organizations that have dedicated training facilities, it is excellent, and I encourage organizations, even if you don't have, see where you can partner with other organizations to use theirs, because the venue makes a significant difference. The venue and the feeding, the hygiene factors there, people underrate them, but they make a significant difference. So where will the course hold? What kind of good food, and when? And I'll talk about when. You don't want to be holding, if you're in the sales sector and you have a peak period, and this is when you decide to run your own, you will not get management support and people will be distracted. So all those are things you have to take into consideration when planning a learning event effectively. Use real data, use feedback, keep it short. The sweet point, I think, for courses is usually, they say 5 days. After 5 days, you may not get as much value. There are programs, some leadership management, and that require you to be there for a month or two. But I think 5 days, a Monday to Friday program, typically keeps it short and sweet, and then you can come back for a refresher or for the next level subsequently. So those would be, I think, some of the best practices that I've observed over time in my organization around designing impactful learning events. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that extensive one. I mean, talked about why, what, where, how. I mean, the W's. Thank you. 3 minutes, please. The next question goes to Dr. Himalaia Bassi. How can we prioritize learning and development in a resource-constrained environment? Can you give an example of how you've seen that work in practice? Resource-constrained environment. How can we still ensure that? Yeah,
thank you so much. I can take it less than 3 minutes. Prioritizing learning and development when resources are tight is both a challenge. I can also say it's an opportunity. The key is to focus on impact over value. I mean, impact over volume. Impact over volume, making sure every initiative directly support organizational goals and employee growth, and without necessarily cost. So some of those few strategies in prioritizing L&D in a resource-constrained environment: one, leverage internal expertise. Most of the times, we devalue the people that we have that have passed through, that have given us results. It's important we encourage peer-to-peer learning and mentorship programs. Employees share knowledge through brown bag session, job shadowing, or internal workshop. Another thing that will help us also, when you do not have resources, do what we call macro learning over big programs. Short, focused learning modules, 10 to 15 minutes, are cheaper to produce and easier to integrate it into your daily work. Another very important one is use free low-cost platforms. Today, tap into MOOC, Coursera, edX, Udemy, podcasts, or even source material instead of expensive training contracts. Another that is key if you don't have money or resources is align your training with business priorities, things that have no direct impact on the organizational goal. It's not aligning with the vision. Don't put resources. Only invest in skills that directly support the strategic goal, e.g. digital literacy, customer, things that can help you. Another one, on-the-job learning. One of the most impactful L&D is on the job. Rotate roles, assign stretch projects, embed learning into daily tasks so employees grow while learning. Measure, of course, as our sister talked about the measure ROI, track outcomes, productivity, retention, and innovation to ensure limited resources are being used effectively. For example, we've been engaged at where I worked. I've seen us put in a mid-size when we bring in our employees to have what we call internal knowledge sharing. Senior staff run that monthly skill clinics, e.g. putting how to put things, especially project management. And as I said, I operate in the real estate sector. One of those key things that will help us is bring the young guys from the university that have no experience, attach them with people that are experienced. They watch daily, they work, they move there daily, they do quite a lot, and that helps in reducing the cost of training. Also, cross-functional projects are key. Employees were rotated into short project teams outside their usual role, which build new skill without extra cost. Another thing, free online learning. Staff are encouraged to complete free, for example, as I talked earlier, on LinkedIn, in LinkedIn Learning, on Coursera, with recognition, even given during team meetings, and also some of those things that have to do with their role. We attach like 5% of their pressure. So we ensure that they pass through because these learning are critical to us. Another also, as you look at the outcomes, as I said earlier, within a year, for example, what has those people been trained? What's the contribution as per return on investment? So it's very critical today that people don't just bring in training just anyhow. For example, someone that is in the accounting session, you are accountant and you are going for masters in public relations. Yes, I didn't say possible, but for now your role is accounting. Is that training related to that? So let's focus in investing into those things that has a direct impact with our role. Is very critical. Thank you so much. That's 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Dr. Bassey. Impact over volume. And lastly, we'll just quickly take this. How do you handle resistance to learning and development initiative? And this goes to Madam Amore. I know she can deal with this in 2 minutes. Because
okay, I will. So very quickly, resistance.
My moderator, please, time is up. Our time is up, please. It was up 10 minutes ago, please. We need to end the session shortly, please.
Okay, that's taken. All right, so
okay. So I'll just quickly wrap it up. So I said resistance is a symptom of an underlying problem. So in 3 phases, what you do is you find the root cause analysis. As an auditor, that's what we call it. So when you find the root cause analysis, the next thing for you to do is identify this, design the intervention, if you like, design the way you're going to handle this. Sometimes you have to reassure the staff or the employee that this training is for a particular purpose. Just like we were told during the recently concluded ICE, AI is not here to take our jobs, just to improve efficiency on the job. And once you've done that, you secure the environment. Many times you may need to have the managers and line managers, if you like, and leadership attend certain trainings with the employees so that they are assured that this is actually because of the pivot in the organization towards a particular, adoption, if you like. So let me not take it further than that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, my able panelists, for justice you've done to the topics. Because of our time, we probably will not be able to take questions, but please drop your question on the chat. I mean, we can take that across to the panel members, and they will definitely do justice to it. So please, let's drop our questions there as I yield to the organizer, the CIPM team, to take over. Thank you so much. A round of applause, please, for our panelists. Thank you so much for that session. Thank you. Well appreciated.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our panelists and to our moderator. Apologies to our members that are online. Just give us a few more minutes and we'll be done and finished. But I'm glad and I'm sure you had a very good session with our panelists and the moderator as well. Just a few announcements whilst we're closing off. Tomorrow, I think the last 2 days, or today has been 2 days of learning, I'm going to call it, because tomorrow we have our annual public lecture. This morning we had the International Men's Day webinar, and now we've had CIPM YOU, and now tomorrow we have our annual public lecture coming up 27th of November at 12 p.m. West African time, and the theme is Employment and National Security, Review Strategies for Tackling Insecurity. Employment and National Security, Review Strategies for Tackling Insecurity. And you can see our lineup of speakers, so you can know you would know that you're looking forward to another engaging session, an engaging learning session, I would call it. And do not forget, it's 2 points for your membership upgrade and 3 points for your HRPL, HR Practitioner's License Renewal. So please make it a date with us. Membership subscription, ensure your subscriptions are up to date. Paying your subscription gives you access to the CIPM welfare scheme, and we don't pray for death of the young, but it ensures that your beneficiaries are entitled to certain benefits in the unfortunate event of death. 2026 training calendar is now available, so please visit our website to download and plan your training sessions. Delisting of non-financial members. Delisting will begin from the 31st of December 2025. So can you ensure that you are up to date in terms of membership subscription payments to avoid being delisted? So your subscriptions must be up to 2025 to ensure that you are not delisted. And do remember that if you are delisted, it means you become a non-member, and becoming a non-member and still continue to practice HR without being certified by CIPM attracts sanctions according to our charter, which is at the moment 2 years in prison and a fine or both. So I would encourage everyone, if you're listening or joining us, or maybe tell other people, the listing will begin from the 31st of December 2025. We have a WhatsApp group, CIPM Communications WhatsApp group, for quick updates and information, and this is strictly for CIPM members. Part of the value proposition, CIPM Marketplace. So financial members can now shop for items at very discounted prices. So this is from CIPM to you. It's part of your membership subscription that you enjoy, in addition to all this webinar series and learning sessions that we've put up for you throughout the years gone by, and in the last few weeks before we close up for Christmas. While saying thank you to everyone that were part of the 57th International Conference and Exhibition, we couldn't have done this without you. So we say thank you very much. Thank you to all our sponsors. Thank you to all participants. Thank you to all delegates, so also the participants, exhibitors. We're also using this opportunity to invite you to get ready for the 58th International Conference and Exhibition in Abuja, and we'll release more information soon. So thank you very much. This would be and should most likely be our last CIPM and You webinar series for the year. So I think we're ending on a very good note. At this point, I would like to invite Mrs. Sadatu Farouk, MCIPM, one of our elected council members, to please give the vote of thanks. And Madam Vice President, please get ready. Thank you, Mr. Saidat Farouk, MCIPM. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm on transit, so I'm unable to put on my video so that I will have good service. Thank you, Registrar CE. We appreciate everyone on this call, especially our moderator, Dr. Adesoji Ogunsoya. Thank you very much for a wonderful coordination. Even though our CE said you overshot your time by 10 minutes, it was a great time together. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists. Dr. Basi Emmanuel, my brother, thank you. My sister, Ureji, thank you. Madam Angel, thank you very much. We sincerely appreciate all of you for taking out this time. Most times when I hear about learning, I get really excited because I had learning as well. I'm a trainer. So I get very, very excited. And one thing that stands out for learning most of the time is the fact that we have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. A lot of insights have been shared. Delegates or participants on the call, please take notes as it relates to you, your job role, or even people that you know, so you can share with them as well. That's one very fantastic thing with CIPM. Where you learn from here, you're so excited because of so much that's given to you. You're excited to share with other people, even when it's unsolicited. Thank you very much, panelists. Thank you very much, moderator. Sincere thanks to the President and Chairman of Governing Council. Thank you. The registrar, your team, the headquarters, we thank you all for making this possible again. Thank you very much, everyone. We sincerely appreciate. Please, let's go home with all the various nuggets and see how we can implement them for 2026. For me, I've taken quite a number of notes down that will help my job. Thank you all. Thank you, Registrar.
Thank you, Mrs. Saidatu Farouk, MCIPM, for the vote of thanks.
Have a blessed evening. Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the Vice President of the Institute, Mrs. Chidima Obiejesi, FCIPM, to please give us the closing remarks. Over to you, Madam.
Good afternoon, everyone. Madam Registrar, confirm you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Your picture is not clear, Sha. Your picture is not clear.
Ah, okay.
So you can do without the video, maybe. Okay, yeah. I think it's a bit better.
Okay, but let's save the bandwidth. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, and good afternoon once more. I'm not going to go over the vote of thanks because that has been done, but I must say that it's been a great session today. You won't agree with me. And as we draw our November edition, and like the registrar said, probably our last one for the year of CIPM and You to a close, I'm actually filled with a sense of energy and purpose. And I actually do hope that I share these feelings with you all. Our time together focused on learning reflections, results, and sustainability for the future of work. And it has been an illuminating session. We began by acknowledging the pace of change in the world of work demands a commitment to continuous growth. The insights shared on skill building, agility, the new HR technologies, and how they have equipped us with clearer roadmaps. We must embrace this mindset that learning is not a one-time event, but a perpetual one. Learning is continuous. As Peter Drogba would say, every enterprise is a learning and teaching institution, no matter what you do, whether real estate, trading, or whatever. Learning and development must be built into all levels of that organization. Learning must never stop. And that's why we've been learning for the past 2 days. And we're always learning. Every occasion, every time is opportunity for learning. This learning must be paired with deep reflection. It is through looking inward that we gain clarity. Learning without reflection is actually a waste. Reflection without learning is dangerous. So said our philosophers. I encourage you all to take the space to reflect on the concepts and connections we have made here, the things we have learned, the insights we've been given, the nuggets that have been shared. Let's take them back and reflect on them. But learning and reflection are simply the starting point. Our goal is to translate this insight into tangible results for ourselves and for our organizations. Of course, we discuss metrics. Like Angel said, what is not being measured oftentimes don't get done. We discussed impact and the critical link between our employees and business success. The true measure of our effort lies in their impact. I encourage us, let's commit to turning our ideas into powerful actions that improve our organizations and the lives of our people. Finally, the year is coming to an end, and as we look ahead, not just to next year, but to the long-term sustainability of our efforts and the trainings and learnings we give to our organization and the workforce itself. The future of work demands ethical, inclusive, and enduring HR strategies. For our work to be truly sustainable, it must be deeply woven into the fabric of our culture. It is the essence of a sustainable, human-centric model. As we leave this event and return to our various activities, let's remember that the future of work is not something that happens to us, it's something we create together. We have been encouraged not to be firefighters, but architects. Let us live here empowered to learn continuously, to reflect deeply, and to drive impactful results, and to build a truly sustainable future of work for everyone. Thank you for the energy you brought so far. Over 600 of us at the peak here. The engagement, the chat box have been quite engaging with comments and your commitment to the HR profession. I will leave you as I conclude with one singular question. What is that single most important action you plan to take back to your organization based on this learning session, our last CIPM YOU session for the year? As I said that, I want to say thank you everyone who have joined this session, and let's please enjoy the rest of the year. Although we still expect to see you tomorrow while we reflect on how we're going to implement all the learnings we have taken throughout the year. Thank you very much, and good evening once more, everyone. To enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you. Over to you, Madam C.
Thank you, VP.
Thank you very much, Madam VP. We're now joined to close, and I would ask that we all please rise as we take the last stanza of the national anthem, and just to say thank you once again to everyone, panelists, our moderator, and all our participants and HQ staff, and to all our leaders, governing council members and fellows. Thank you very much for attending this session. Thank you. National anthem, please, the last stanza. Nigeria indeed shall be blessed. Thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Registrar.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well done.
Bye, everyone. Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
See you all
Bye,
tomorrow.
everyone.
Thank you.
1,500 people. See you
Bye.
tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.